In this class, we're going to do some facial rigging in Flash. So the most complicated about rigging a face in Flash is really the eyes. So there's two different ways we can rig the eyes. We can just use simple layers, or we can use layers with a mask. So let's just go over how to do the layers first, and then I'll show you the applications and why you would use a mask or just layers. So once we're inside the head, we can see that we have the artwork for the head. So I'll just name that before we start creating new layers. I'll just name this so we know what it is. I'll just call it head art, and I'm just going to create 3 new layers. So we're going to need the eye shape layer, where we're going to create the shape of the eye. So I'll just name this eye shape. The next one we're going to name pupil, and then our eye weight. Alright, so for the eye shape layer, I'm just going to hide the art for the head just for a few minutes, just so I can see the drawing underneath. I want to create the eye. And we want to make sure that we have our layers in this order: eye shape, then pupil underneath it, and then eye weight. We want to have the pupil sandwiched between the eye weight and the eye shape. Alright, so make sure that you're on the eye shape layer, and we're going to create the line work for his eye. So I'm just going to use the oval tool, and we're just going to draw out a shape for the eye, something matching the drawing. And I'm just going to get rid of the fill. We don't need that. So now I'm going to create a shape around the eye. It's an area for the pupil to hide behind when he's looking in a certain direction. And we'll give that a fill. Just fill it with some gray. And we'll get rid of the line work. Just double click on the line work and hit delete on your keyboard. Alright, so the next step is to create the pupil. And for now I'm just going to create a black pupil. I'm just going to do it off to the side for now, and then I'll move it in later. So I'm just going to hold shift down to constrain the X and Y values. So I want it to be perfectly round, and I don't need the line work. So I'm just going to click on the line work and delete that. And we'll fill this with black. So right now I'm just going to make a symbol out of that, and we'll just call it left pupil. Okay, so it needs to be a symbol for the mask to work. And you can see already that because we have the pupil underneath the eye shape in the layers area here, the pupil's actually underneath this eye shape that we made. But we need an eye weight. We're going to put the eye weight at the very bottom of both of these layers, and that's why we have it in this order in the layers area. So we're going to have the eye weight on the very bottom. So what we can do is just use the oval tool again, and we'll just create a circle. We'll get rid of the line art, and we'll fill this with white. Okay, so we'll bring that in to the eye area here. We just want to make sure that it encompasses the whole eye. So now we have an eye weight, a pupil, and our eye shape. So if we turn on our character's head again, yeah, we just use the random color, but what we can do is I drop this color, fill the eye shape with that color, so we don't see it. And now we have a basic eye rig that you can use for any sort of cartoony character. If you go a little too far, you can see it pokes out from behind the eye shape that we created, but you can always go back in to the eye shape. Let's just hide everything except for the eye shape, and we can make this bigger if you want. So if the character has a lot of features, more features than this, eyebrows that are closer down to his eyes, or he's got a big nose, and a lot of features sort of crunched closer together. If your character design is designed in such a way that you don't have room for all this, you might need to use a different approach, and we're going to go with a mask. So I'll just delete this paint. We don't want to see the pupil in the head at all. So to fix that, we're going to create a mask. The first thing we got to do is make sure that our eye weight doesn't go past the eye line here. Just use my free transform tool and make sure that that eye weight is just not showing past the line. So we're going to link the pupil to a mask. So we're going to create a new shape that's going to mask the pupil out from the head area. So we're going to create a new layer right above the pupil. We'll just call it eye weight mask because we're going to use the eye weight as the mask shape. We'll just call it eye mask. So this layer is currently empty. There's nothing in this layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy the eye weight onto the eye mask layer. So we're going to really have 2 eye weights. One of them is going to be used for a mask. So I'll copy the eye weight. Let's make sure you're on the eye weight layer and go copy. And then we'll go to the eye mask layer, and we'll right click on the stage here and say paste in place. So it'll put it right in the same spot as the other eye weight. So now you can see that because the eye mask layer is over top of the eye weight layer, it's also over top of the pupil. It's now covering the pupil. On this eye mask layer, we're going to right click and turn this into a mask just by selecting mask here. So what the mask shape does, that second eye weight we copied, it allows any object that it's linked to be seen in the area where the mask is, but not outside the mask. As soon as we created the mask, you can see that the pupil is now linked to the eye mask, and the symbols have changed on the layers, but it also locks both layers. So they have to be locked for the mask to work. So to get around that, obviously we need to animate the pupil, so we don't want that pupil layer to be locked. So I'm just going to unlock it, and you can see that it reverts back and the mask isn't taking effect anymore. On the mask layer, you can see, as you know, we have our visibility column, our padlock column, and then the column next to it is to show outlines. On the eye mask layer, I'm just going to show outlines. It's just going to show us the outline of the mask. So now we have the pupil unlocked and we can animate it, but you can see that it's not actually taking effect. The mask isn't taking effect. It won't show it to you here. Just turn the head art back on and we can animate this pupil around anywhere we need to. It won't show here when we're inside the head, but once we're outside the head, the mask does function properly. So that's how we would rig an eye with simple layers, or if you need to use a mask, you can do it this way as well. So we're just going to repeat the process with the other eye, and then we'll start rigging some facial expressions into the eyes. Alright, so we're going to need the character to blink and have different eye expressions. For animation, a lot of times they'll create a few different eye shapes, just so the animators can get the eyes to blink, and maybe some happy and sad eye shapes. But during animation, the animators will have to create new eye shapes for different expressions that occur in the character as per the script. So we'll just give them the basics and the animators can sort of take it from there. So the first thing we need to do is go to the eye shape layer and we will turn that into a symbol. So we'll name this right eye. And we'll just symbolize the other one as well while we're at it. F8, name it left eye. Alright, so the first one, if we double click to get inside the symbol, you can see that we have this black ring, which is the art. We'll copy it and we'll paste it right next door, paste frames. So we have two that are exactly the same. So on the second one, let's get the eye a third of the way closed. So I'll just use my line tool. Let's turn snap on so we can get it to snap to the sides. And we'll just bend that line a little bit. We'll do a 1/3 closed, and maybe a 2/3 closed, and then completely closed. Copy frame 2, copy, we'll paste that onto the next frame, paste. And we can just change this line. We'll just bend it down. Just select it. You can use our arrow keys to shift it down a little bit. And then what we'll do is we'll make an eye that's completely closed. So I'll just copy frame 1 onto frame 4, paste. If we go to frame 4, we just have the ring again, but I'm going to fill this one this time. So if the eye's closed, it'll just be a solid color to look like it's the eyelid. So I'll just go to my paint bucket here. I'm just going to select a color. This is just a stand-in color for now. It's temporary. And I'll just fill this shape. Usually the eyelid's a little bit darker than the flesh tone. Alright, so now if we scrub over those, we have a couple different eye shapes, and I'll actually fill the eyelid with that same color. Alright, so now we have a few shapes of the eye opening and closing, just so the animators can get at least that basic functionality happening. And if I double click to get back out to the head, turn our head art back on for a minute, and we'll double click again to get outside the head. And I'm just going to give these layers some frames, insert some frames here. Double click to get in the head, give these layers about 5 frames or so, just so we can test it. So if we scrub over that, you can see the eye shapes I made inside the eye symbol are just looping through on the eye shape layer. Just to test and make sure that the pupil is behind that lid, I'm just going to put it here for now and double click to get back out. We can set the head to loop. So the head symbol's looping and the eye symbol's looping inside the head symbol. So we'll just scrub over that and we can see that it's working nicely. Alright, so let's get back in and complete our work here. Alright, so let's just do 2 more, maybe something that looks sort of angry, and let's do something that looks maybe sad or tired. Those are sort of the basics, and then the animators can sort of take it from there. So we'll copy the first eye, and we'll go to frame 4 here, and paste it. That's frame 5, sorry. And let's use our line tool, and let's do something that looks sort of sad. And let's fill the lid in. We'll just copy frame 1 again, copy, and paste it on, is it frame 6? Paste, line tool, and let's do something that looks a little more angry. And we'll fill that in, and that should be good for that eye for now. So we only went up to frame 5 here. Just want to see all of them. Insert frame. So now we can see our variations of closed eyelid, and we got the sad, tired, and the angry. Now let's go to the other eye and do the same thing. Okay, so let's back out and look at both eyes and see how they look together. So there's the first one, and they match up pretty good. Might have to bend that second one down a little bit. And then the sad, tired, the angry. They're a little bit different, but I think I'm okay with that because this character is a little bit wonky, so just they're not exactly the same, I think it adds some appeal to it. We can always go back and change it later. If we double click to get outside of the head, we can see what it looks like from a little further away. I don't want to have the people touching the eyelid on one eye and not on the other eye, so I think what I'm going to do is adjust those eyes just a little bit. That's probably going to work a little bit better. And let's take a look at the angry. Okay, so just for design purposes, I'm going to just squeeze these eyes a little bit. I kind of liked how the drawing looked with the oval eyes. And that'll probably make it easier to get pupils under the lids too. So if we turn the head art off again, just to keep the flavor and the style of the drawing, everything's sort of oval and not perfectly circle, so I think it looks better to keep it like that. It's real easy when you're creating a Flash character from a drawing. It's, the drawing's got a lot of energy. You just want to try to uphold that appeal that the drawing has. I can see that the pupils are a lot bigger in the drawing. It's not so much matching the drawing perfectly as opposed to trying to get the Flash rig to look as appealing as the drawing does. Alright, so let's create his eyebrows. The eyebrows are relatively simple. So I'll just do them right at the very top. So it's over top of the head. We'll just create 2 new layers at the top. Call it left brow and right brow. And we'll just draw those in with lines. We'll just keep them pretty simple. I did the whole character at a line thickness of 2, so I think maybe what I'll do for the brows is we'll just try 3. So there's the left brow, and we'll do the right brow. Make sure you go to the proper layer to draw it. Let's do a couple of eyebrows. So we're going to turn the eyebrow into a symbol so that we can go inside the symbol and create a few more eyebrows. And then on the outside, we'll be able to animate the switch. So we're just going to go F8, right eyebrow, right brow. And double click to get inside the brow. And let's make a few different eyebrows. There's 2 different ways we can do this. We can do what we did before with the eye shape. We can copy it, copy that key, paste it on the next frame. And then just put your time marker on the next frame there. And then we can just adjust the second one. Or you can go to the next keyframe and hit F7 for a blank keyframe. And you can see that that third keyframe just has nothing on it. You can see when we scrub to it, it just disappears. It's a blank keyframe. And then we can just redraw. You can even turn onion skinning on if you like to see the other ones. And then just redraw your new eyebrow. You can do it that way as well. So I'll do something a little more angry. F7. And we'll do something a little more sad. I think that's enough really for the animators to work with. Angry, sad, and that other one's sort of stern or determined. So we'll turn onion skinning back off and just scrub over those. So we have his default eyebrow position, something that looks sort of determined or intense, and angry and sad. Depending on what's happening with the character, they'll definitely have to create different eyebrows as they go, but that's part of the animation process in Flash. Alright, so let's go to the other eyebrow. Let's bounce back out, and we'll select the other eyebrow art. F8 for a symbol. We'll call it left brow. And double click to get inside that, and let's create our new brows. Double click to get back out, turn our onion skinning off, and let's just scrub over to see how those look. So that's cool. We can see all of them cycling here, and we don't have to have the eyebrows for the rigging. We don't have to have the eyebrows match up with the eyelids for expression wise. So say I have my sad lid on this frame, I can just scrub through until I find the sad eyebrow, and the animators can match them up that way and animate them that way. So that's it for rigging the eyes. In the next class, we're going to be dealing with setting up the mouth for speech and facial expressions.